The Committee on Homeland Security Subcommittee on Emergency Preparedness, Response, and Communications will come to order. The subcommittee is meeting today to examine the proposed cuts to grant programs in the President's fiscal year 2017 budget request. Before we begin, I ask unanimous consent that the gentleman from New York, Mr. King, a member of the full committee, be permitted to sit on the dais and participate in today's hearing. Without objection, so ordered. I also ask unanimous consent to insert in the record a signed letter by 17 stakeholder organizations opposing the proposed grant cuts. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. As Chairman of the Subcommittee on Energy Preparedness, Response, and Communications, one of my fundamental responsibilities is to ensure our nation's first responders have the tools they need to protect this country and, God forbid, respond to the next terrorist attack. That is why my first hearing is focusing on the dangerous cuts to Homeland Security grants proposed in the President's fiscal year 2017 budget request. The President's budget cuts more than $500 million from programs that support states, cities, ports, transit systems, and fire services. This funding helps provide the training and equipment so critical to enabling our first responders to meet threats as varied as active shooter scenarios, mass casualty events from a nuclear, chemical, or biological attack, and bomb plots targeting civilians in high-traffic areas. Such threats aren't just theories. In the nearly 15 years since the tragic attacks in 2001, law enforcement has thwarted sinister plots like these and more, including one involving an ISIS sympathizer in my own district. As this committee documented in a recent report issued by Chairman McCall, there have been 75 terrorism plots against the West since early 2014. 43% of them were successfully executed, and the United States is the top target. Law enforcement, including the New York City Police Department and Joint Terrorism Task Forces, deserve our thanks for keeping Americans safe. So far, there have been 81 ISIS-linked arrests in the United States, a number that will only grow as the organization continues to spread viral terrorism over the Internet. Proposing cuts to the programs that keep the homeland safe would be foolish in any case, but they are particularly outrageous at a time when our threat level is the highest it has been since 2001. It would seem that either the President doesn't believe these threats exist or he doesn't care. But make no mistake, this is not the time for the Federal Government to cut support to help our nation's first responders combat terror attacks. In discussing the budget proposal with the Administration, we've heard various justifications for the cuts. They've told us that the cuts are a result of, quote, FEMA's successful investments in prior years, end quote. They've claimed that it is a result of unspent funding from prior years. And they've told us that the cuts are the result of difficult budget decisions and that this budget, quote, funds all of our vital Homeland Security missions in these challenging times, end quote. The truth of the matter is they've chosen to balance the budget on the backs of first responders, knowing that many in Congress will vociferously oppose those cuts. We have heard time and again that these grant programs have made a difference. We heard it after the Boston Marathon bombings. We heard it after the natural disasters like Hurricane Sandy, which devastated my district, and the tornadoes in Moore, Oklahoma. I am especially interested in hearing how the recent investments made by New York City using Federal Homeland Security grants, such as hiring additional counterterrorism officers this year, could be hamstrung by the sudden drop in Federal funds. New York City and other jurisdictions that benefit from Federal security grants have made real contributions to increasing our country's readiness to meet terrorist threats. However, for local efforts to be truly effective, there must be a meaningful partnership with the Federal Government. Congress, and this committee in particular, has a history of bipartisanship when it comes to protecting our country and supporting first responders. We did it last year when we came together to permanently reauthorize the Zadroga Act to give 9/11 first responders the health treatment and screenings they earned. And I am pleased to be here today working with Ranking Member Payne to oppose these dangerous Homeland Security cuts. The Chair now recognizes the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Payne, for an opening statement he may have.